Lior Lev Sercarz is the owner of the famed spice shop Boite, and singing him praises on his new book, The Spice Companion, are Ina Garten, Yoda Motolengi, Dory Greenspan, and Gail Simmons. Some of the leading chefs in the country also use his spices, including Daniel Boulud and Eric Repair. He is notably named the Spice Magician, and he joins me to talk about his new book, which is filled with 102 brand new recipes. Lior, the first thing that pops in my head is, what keeps you inspired to do this, to come up with brand new recipes? Is it a place? Is it a feeling? What is it that keeps you moving?
I think that there's not one place in particular, aside from my visits to see my family back in Israel, where it's a constant source of inspiration because of the fact that there's anywhere between 60 to 80 different ethnic groups. So just by walking in the street and eating some street food or going into restaurants and markets, you are exposed to so many influences. But I found that for the most part, everywhere I travel, even if it's within the United States, I came back a couple of days ago, back from New Orleans for the first time. And with so many new ideas and influences, and some don't necessarily come from a spice, they can come from a dish, they can come from a person. So to me, inspiration is everywhere. I'm also thankful that being a modern age spice trader, I have the internet. I do a lot of research there. I contact a lot of farmers, knowing that a lot of them live in remote islands somewhere in Indonesia and Java. Chances are that we will never meet. But with technology, I am able to do so. I also rely on a pretty large network of traders and brokers that I work with. And when they go out there to source ingredients, they always think of me and bring me some things that I'm not familiar with. I'm not using the term new because nothing is new. It might be new to me. Another great thing that is slowly, very slowly happening is the ability to work with some of these farmers and producers in either improving quality of existing products or maybe trying to revive some ancient things that have been kind of out of the catalog for a minute, and maybe utilizing some parts of the plant that for some reason nobody has ever thought of.
So how does a young Lior who grows up, I've read in your book, you grew up on a kibbutz in Galilee. How did you manage to make it to America, work for Boulud? I mean, the chances of somebody doing what you did seems like a rough, a small chance of success, becoming this, quote unquote spice therapist, and getting all these people on the back of the book writing these wonderful blurbs. It just seems like such a different world. How did you make it work?
But it's true, and every time I speak with people, I said that the fact that I'm dealing with food and in spices and in things that I think are tasty, it seems like a complete mystery for somebody who grew up in probably the worst culinary scene on earth, which was in a kibbutz in the 70s in Israel, where food was made by miserable people. And, I say often that coincidence does not exist, and I fairly believe in it. And, my dad, from a very young age, he said, whatever you do, just keep forward, keep moving forward, and wherever it takes you, go. I found about 20 years ago a little piece of paper that my high school teacher wrote to me, and saying there that she wishes me all the best, and she will probably see me one day sitting in New York on the bank of the Hudson. It's a true story. I mean, what are the chances that she had that insight? I don't know.
Wow.
I think that the beauty of the culinary world and the world as it is that it takes you places, and if you're willing to follow it and let yourself go, I think it's great. Also, when I decided to go to culinary school back in the late 90s, my parents really had a slight heart attack that their son is going to become a failure and a cook. But being open and letting me do whatever I wanted, I think that was crucial. And we were raised from a very young age to just follow our passion and do what we love. And I think you got to expose yourself to everything. And that's what I also tell young cooks who are showing some interest in this very challenging profession, might I say, is to try their hands in as many aspects. And maybe they might find themselves doing a radio show about food. Maybe they'll become writers. Cooking is not limited to a stove, a pot, a pan, and a knife. And I think that's the beauty of where this profession is heading, that we can be good within the culinary world, but expressing it in many different ways.
Yeah. And is that sort of how you stumbled upon spices? I mean, you were working for Boulud.
So the main shift for me, professionally and a lot personally also, was in the late 90s, early 2000s, while living in a little town in Brittany called Cancale, and working for a very short period of time for Lior Lev Sercarz, who is still considered amongst professionals to be one of the authorities when it comes to cooking and cooking with spices. And I think for the first time, even though I saw spices for many years growing up in Israel, I understood what spices can do to you and to food, and how they transport you and they create these emotions. And Olivier, who became not only a good friend but really a mentor to me, was very smart in a way that he refuses to teach me what he knew about spices. He encouraged me to do my own research and journey. He was just there to kind of guide me and supervise. And it took me about 15 years from that first encounter with Olivier to get to the point where I felt like I started understanding this beautiful world. And I could say that without that meeting in the spring of I believe it was 99, in Cancale, Brittany, I would probably not be doing what I'm doing today, and this book would have never seen the light. So I'm very thankful for Olivier for putting me on the right path for me, at least.
Now, to do what you do, though, there must have been somebody who was willing to take the risk to say, yes, you can. I will buy those spices from you and I'll put it on my food. And if it works out, hopefully you'll get more business, right? I mean, who was that person for you who made that big difference?
So the main shift for me, professionally and a lot personally also, was in the late 90s, early 2000s, while living in a little town in Brittany called Cancale, and working for a very short period of time for Lior Lev Sercarz, who is still considered amongst professionals to be one of the authorities when it comes to cooking and cooking with spices. And I think for the first time, even though I saw spices for many years growing up in Israel, I understood what spices can do to you and to food, and how they transport you and they create these emotions. And Olivier, who became not only a good friend but really a mentor to me, was very smart in a way that he refuses to teach me what he knew about spices. He encouraged me to do my own research and journey. He was just there to kind of guide me and supervise. And it took me about 15 years from that first encounter with Olivier to get to the point where I felt like I started understanding this beautiful world. And I could say that without that meeting in the spring of I believe it was 99, in Cancale, Brittany, I would probably not be doing what I'm doing today, and this book would have never seen the light. So I'm very thankful for Olivier for putting me on the right path for me, at least.
You know, what I loved about this book was going through it and reading the recipes and being able to say, because I think so many people feel when they go to the kitchen and they open a cookbook that they can't do it. But I felt that these recipes were really accessible. Was that the intention with the book, to make this a little bit more open for home cooks and maybe chefs to participate in what you do?
Absolutely, and I'm so excited that you're saying that because it really, I spent a lot of time thinking of the home cook, or the chef for that matter, and how many books they have and how many times, like you said, the ingredient list is overwhelming and the spices.
Yeah.
And first, selecting these 102 spices that people have quite a few of them. If they don't, they might have heard or they can source. But when you open your spice cabinet at home and you pick a jar of cloves, I want to make it easy on you. And I always tell people that my goal is not to change the way they cook. My goal is to improve what they already know how to do, whether you're making chicken soup or roasting a chicken or broiling a salmon. That's totally okay with me. I like that. I just would love for you to explore a little bit and maybe add a little bit of that clove to your next preparation. And instead of giving you complex recipes, I found out over the years that most people know how to make simple preparations such as a tomato sauce or certain soup or roasting vegetables. What I wanted to just suggest is that they try these different spices with them, or even, try their hand in creating very simple spice blends that include not more than 4 or 5 ingredients that they might already have at home. So we definitely spent, both myself and Jamie Gottlieb, who helped me with the writing, we both spent a lot of time thinking of what would be the easiest way for people to understand, and without giving them recipes. And so I'm, again, so excited that you found that easy to use, because that was definitely our goal. And I think that, funny enough, I think it was harder for me to do that type of writing versus writing complete recipes, because of the restraint where it's only one line or one word. How do you, like Hemingway say, I believe, is how do you write a book with 5 words or 1 sentence?
Yeah. Well, listen, I've stopped using Goya. I'm only using your spices. I'm just joking. But but at home, I mean, you taste the difference between this and some of those packaged spices, right? I mean, there is a big difference.
Oh, absolutely. And I think one of the goals also of this book and what we do for the last 10 years at La Boite is saying, it's great to use spices, but you should also evaluate the quality. I mean, you would not want to eat an unripe piece of fruit or a bad piece of vegetable or a bad piece of meat. Why would you season your food with mediocre seasoning? As far as I'm concerned, you might as well not even use them, because you're not adding something to your food. On the contrary, you might make it even worse. So I think the attention of details, we also devoted a couple of pages on how to buy spices at the supermarket. What does the average home cook know between good and bad? And when you bring them home, how do you store them properly? And the fact that they're not like your nice bottle of Bordeaux, they're not going to become better with time. So we also wanted to explain to people is how they can become smarter shopper and better cooks at home. But again, keeping it very, very simple.
Yeah, and even how to blend themselves, right? I mean,
absolutely, yeah. And we, I live in Manhattan in a small apartment where every little square foot matters. I don't want to have 20 or 30 different jars of single spices, because I don't have space, and I also don't have time, having 2 little kids at home when I come home late at night, to start grinding and adding. So I spend a few minutes at the end of the weekend or once a month, and I create a couple of great blends, and then it's really easy for me when I wake up in the morning to add it to the, French toast or oatmeal for the kids, or to my coffee, and so on and so forth. So it's really simplifying cooking, because I think that if cooking becomes complicated, then most people jump ship, and that's a shame.
Well, Lior, it was so lovely chatting with you. Was there anything I didn't ask you that you want people to know about?
I think people should just be curious about food. They should have fun, and they should explore and just educate themselves. And I think, I hope that this book will be part of their solution.
Well, thank you so much for coming and chatting with me.
Thank you, Gary.